Hey Phenom fam, I'm Bray.
I'm Kayla.
And we are FaithPhenomenon. Yes! We actually come here today to essentially share our story. What we'll do is we'll break it down into sections of 3. So the 3 most traumatic things that we went through and how we became victors and not victims.
So, just back in our stories are why we started FaithPhenomenon and why we feel the need to minister and help people who have been through the same things as us.
Yes.
So you want me to go first?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Well, so my story is one of abandonment, domestic violence, sexual assault. 3 most traumatic stories for me. My first one was back in 2007. My grandmother, who raised me because my mom and father left me, she had cancer, big blow to me, and I stayed with a family member, and one of their family members, a brother of theirs actually, so I guess that would, you know, kind of make it a little worse, right? He molested me. We were watching TV and I used to want to be a doctor and I had just gotten my period. So I'm not sure what was going through his mind, but me being a 12-year-old girl, he's an adult. 12, 17, who knows right from wrong?
It was wrong.
It was wrong. We played doctor and he proceeded to touch me in very wrong places for me at the time. He forced me to touch him, and this overwhelming feeling of guilt and shame and disgust came over me because I knew it was wrong, but who was I going to tell? How did I know it was truly wrong for that to happen? Yeah. And it changed me in that moment, just a split second, changed me to be vulnerable, to be trying to find love in anywhere and anybody.
And still having a level of distrust.
And not trusting. I trusted no one. I didn't trust my family. I didn't go to them. I didn't trust any guy. I didn't trust myself. I was lost. And it led me into a whole nother situation that was even more traumatic. That led me into a relationship of domestic violence where I have been slapped, I have been choked to where I have passed out and been in the hospital and almost died. I have been raped by a significant other in front of people, essentially. Maybe not in the same room, but in front of people, because I was viewed as property, as a possession. I have been used as a pawn of defiance. My brother always protected me. And to think that he lost his life protecting me because somebody wanted to be defiant to his word. And I felt guilty for all these years. And I had to learn that through all of that, I was protected by someone I didn't even know. I didn't even know was on my side. I was raised very religious, but not spiritually. I didn't know that God had placed angels on this earth for me to get me through those situations. And I held on to that guilt for so long, which made me a victim. And I'm not a victim.
No, you're not.
I'm a victor. And anybody else who has been through situations like this, you are a victor.
Yes, you are.
This strong woman next to me, my sister, my soul sister, is a victor. and she'll let you know how.
So my story is slightly different from Kayla's. While her abuse and damage came from an outside force, mine came directly from my home. My mother was my abuser. I was physically, verbally, and mentally abused from, I can't even begin to tell you how old I was when it all started, but I know that the way I coped with it was disassociation. And essentially, it all started off as discipline, but when I stopped crying because I became numb to the pain, she hit harder. She yelled louder. She strangled me. Not up until I passed out, but until someone told her to stop. And then it became an ongoing joke in reference to The Simpsons, where Homer would strangle Bart. My mom oftentimes referred to me as the messed up child. I was the horrible child. I was the defiant child. At some point, my stepdad even told me, "No wonder why your mom chokes you, because you don't know how to shut up." There were many incidents with my mom that were
Tragic,
baffling, but there are many that stuck out to me. And there was one particular incident where I wanted to go to my uncle's, and my mom oftentimes isolated me from people, church members, family members. She always told me that they didn't want me with them. They didn't want me. So it was more of a means to keep me with her. She always came up with suspicions about people and why I should be cautious. But there was one particular day where I wanted to go with my uncle, and she didn't want me to go. And I wanted to call him, I wanted to talk to him, because she just kept telling me that he didn't want me to go with him. But I knew that he wasn't that way. He oftentimes would pick me up. And one day that day she physically assaulted me more, and she was pulling all my clothes off of me, ripping them off of me to where I had welts all over my body. And she would slap me and just cause physical pain that I was completely numb to. I couldn't feel it anymore. And that day I did fight back, and she stopped physically hurting me, but then she would mentally abuse me. She would tell me I'm just like my father, who is manipulative and a liar. And she also, I don't know, just everything about my character and who I am, she's always discredited and break me down. Like, I wasn't made to survive in this world. I wasn't made to be strong. I was made to be kept in her hold. I was a slave to all the hurt and all the pain that she inflicted on me. I don't even know how to express the things that she would say to me, or the things that she would do to me, because it was so traumatic. I locked most of it away. I locked so much of it away that it is buried so far deep down, I can't even tap into it. And from that, I had to free myself. I had to take a stand and say, I'm not going to let you treat me this way. It didn't matter how hard I loved her. It didn't matter how much I begged and pleaded. She would guilt trip me. When I was 10, she told me, you're going to leave me like everybody else. I stopped my mom from killing herself several times because she was a raging alcoholic. And the only times that she was ever nice to me was when she was trying to apologize for hurting me and trying to buy me things. But she would take those things and pawn them because we never had money. But I don't receive love in buying things. She would tell me, you should be glad that I'm apologizing to you because my mother never apologized to me. I went through way worse things than you did. So you should be glad you don't live that way. But she created her own prison for me. She defined her own hurt for me. And that's not how any of that works. I was a victim till this year. But not anymore. I even told her that she abused me. And she said, yeah, I did. And I loved it too. But I loved harder. I stood in line when you were 4 and bought you a Tickle Me Elmo. Thank you. She wants me to share equal responsibility for the things that she did to me. And I apologized. I said, Mom, I'm sorry for the things I put you through when I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't having sex. I didn't get pregnant. I didn't do anything. I was just a product of my environment. A regular kid.
Love
Never
is not
do what my mom did to me.
Raising your hand. Real love is not making someone feel like crap to make yourself feel better. Real love is not guilt tripping someone into doing anything that you want them to do and feel how you want them to feel.
That's manipulation. To instill false guilt into people. To force them to do what you want them to do. At the end of the day, we are literally no one's property. I am not yours. I'm God's.
Always have been.
And I thank you for all the things that you put me through. Because I am a strong, capable woman. Because of all the hurt that you put me through. Because of all the terrible things you said to me. I can do anything. So thank you for making me who I am. Because I wouldn't be this person without it.
And I wish I could thank the people who put me through the things that I've been through. The sexual assault, the beating. The only thing I can thank anyone for is giving me to my grandma. Because who knows where I would be if it weren't for her.
Who knows where I'd be without my uncle.
If it weren't for my uncle, who quit his job in Atlanta to come help raise me. Where I would be without my godfather, for who the life in everything in me. You are my dad. You have been. You always will be.
You know, my uncle was the only person that ever stood up to me, to my mom. Everyone else makes excuses for her mental illness. She's a depressed person. So hurt people hurt people.
These are excuses.
But she chose me. That only one person could stand up for me. That's baffling to me. As discipline and abuse is such a taboo topic, but there is a fine line. And many cross it. And many choose not to talk about it.
And many choose to look the other way.
And bring damaged people into this world, not ever apologizing and truly meaning what they say. And seeing beside themselves. You should never inflict anger in place of discipline. If you find that you're angry, do not raise your hand. Because that is not how you teach. That is how you hurt.
When you love, real love is unconditional.
Without limit. Without conditions.
Learn to love that way.
learn to teach that way. One thing I've learned about my abuse is that I oftentimes would compare it to stories that I heard about the things that other people experienced, and I honestly disregarded the things I went through. And I excused them because other people would excuse it. But that still doesn't change the fact that it was abuse. And the things that I suffered were on definitely a more extreme level as far as mentally, as opposed to physical. And I just want to say that no abuse is greater than the other. It all still is the same thing.
There's no comparison.
No comparison at all. But we have to love each other and we have to uplift each other. So with that being said, Kayla and I would like to welcome you to do our challenge.
Our first challenge. Mm-hmm. And that's stepping out on faith and conquering your fear.
Yes. Whether that's saying something to someone that you've been yearning to say or have the desire to say, whether that's just taking a stand in a circumstance, whether it's
doing something that you fear to do.
Yeah.
Like me putting myself out there. That was a fear.
Like me actually acknowledging the abuse that I suffered and not coping with it anymore.
Fears of the enemy.
Yes, it is.
And he will do anything to manipulate it and stop you from achieving anything.
It's made to keep you confined. So with that being said, step out on faith, because that is exactly where your breakthrough is. Find yourself and use that fear as power.
And like, comment,
and subscribe
for another Wise Word segment.
We will be uploading weekly, and we can't wait to see you guys. Peace, Phenomenon fam. Thanks, guys.
Ding, 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 ding.